we're back. Ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of the Handbags, Manbags, Bumbags podcast. We haven't done this for a while, as you may have gathered. For last episode since back end of June, so we're going to be a little rusty, so bear with it.
Been very busy. Well, I haven't. Well, yeah, everyone else has. I've been sitting around and sod all. Everyone else is too busy to record with me.
Holidays, work, self-isolation as it is now. That's the only reason we're doing this, because I'm currently self-isolating. But anyhow, maybe
in terms of what I think it's perfect timing in terms of the week, though. The week of the Premier League, so the week after the football started again, and the week of the Premier League starting again. So
exactly
perfect timing for
football
podcast
is
episodes.
Back, stadiums are full. The Handbags, Manbags predictions episode is this one. So we're going to be predicting how we think the Premier League is going to go about this season. Predicting the league table, top goal scorers, you know the gist, all those sort of different awards and stuff. But first things first, we will start with predicting the table. Now, we're going to start from the bottom, going upwards, and starting with the bottom three. Now, Jake is not with us today for some reason. Don't know why. Busy, probably. Maybe working. We don't know.
That's how good we are at planning. After a couple of months off, we forgot to ask him why.
Yep.
He just said he can't. So that's well done.
And John, we don't know what he's doing, but never mind.
He's too busy working for the summer. He's taking the summer off.
Yeah, but this is probably the only episode we're going to do. So
yeah, true.
So we'll start with the bottom three. Jake has also given us his predictions, so we will read that out as well. And as you'll see in the YouTube edit, I will edit our predictions onto the video. So we'll start with Jake's predictions, which I'm not very happy with him for. His bottom three are Watford, Norwich, and Burnley.
Maybe that's why he's not here. Couldn't face you.
Yeah. Well, that's his opinion, but I will go with mine next. My bottom three, the bottom two are exactly the same as Jake's, Watford and Norwich, in 20th and 19th. And my 18th position is actually Newcastle.
So I can't discredit that at all, because I was in a 50-50. Because like last year, obviously everyone last year was going to be West Brom, Fulham. Was that last year? I can't even remember now. Yeah, West Brom, Fulham, and someone else was everybody's saying this time last year. This year it seems to be Watford, Norwich, and someone else. And Newcastle are a team I was considering, but the team I actually went with, along with Watford and Norwich, was Southampton.
Interesting one, that is very interesting. So we'll start with Watford and Norwich. I mean, Watford in particular haven't really invested that well so far. I mean, Emmanuel Dennis.
Josh King, decent sign, and the rest.
Yeah, Emmanuel Dennis from Club Brugge has got some potential, but other than that, you've got Danny Rose, who's past his sell-by date now, really. And they've not really done much to strengthen. So that's why I think we've all got them.
So nobody else has Premier League proven, really, apart from Rose and King. But then Rose is getting old, and King, to be fair, for a side down the bottom of the table, if he hits his Bournemouth form, he can get enough goals to help them out. But ultimately, Norwich, in the same situation with Norwich, they are just a yo-yo club. They'll go down. They'll be back the year after, probably, the way it seems to be how it works.
But to be fair to Norwich, this season they have invested quite well, and some of the business they've done is not bad at all. I think Billy Gilmore from Chelsea on loan is a fantastic signing for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they've managed that one, because he could have gone to teams much higher up. Even somebody like as high up as Everton or West Ham that would be going for those top half spots, he could have gone in there.
Exactly, but
I don't know how they've managed this one.
Managed to get him in on loan from Chelsea. They've got Lys Malou from Nice. They've just signed that Josh Sargent from Werder Bremen in the last day. They've not invested badly at all.
No,
but their squad depth is just too small again.
They seem to be profiting off Werder Bremen. They're getting receipts are in as well, if that's how you pronounce it. I have no idea.
I forgot about him as well.
Yeah, so they've recruited, unlike Watford, they've recruited very well. But I think their issue last time they were in the league was their defence, and they've gone improved the midfield and attack, you've then got the same defence they went down with last time, minus Lewis and Godfrey. So they're coming up with a weaker defence than they had last time, and they finished comfortably bottom of the league last time. And I think they'll be bottom of the league again. I've got the opposite order to you two.
Okay, that's fair enough. But we've still got them both 19th and 20th.
Yeah,
I just don't think for Norwich, Grant Hanley's just not going to be able to carry them this year. I mean, you've got a defence with Grant Hanley in the Premier League. It's just destined for disaster.
Yeah, I think
in today's league.
Yeah, that's the problem with this doing this now, but obviously everyone doing predictions in the same boat, is that we are back to the transfer window finishing during the season, not before, which obviously means that even more chance of us. Realistically, we'll do another episode in May looking back at how stupid we were in August, but even more so because, like, for all we know, like, say Harry Kane to City could still happen in the next 3 weeks, and that will drastically change what our thoughts on Tottenham were. Same as Norwich could go and pull out a brilliant deal for a new centre half, which might give us more faith in them. But in the next 3 weeks, for all we know, and obviously once the games start as well, you never know, because the Premier League is well known for being unpredictable. Absolutely, in their first season.
Absolutely, and with the fans coming back as well, it adds a new element that many teams weren't used to last year, because played behind closed doors the majority of the time. But we shall see. So let's move into 18th position. So we've all got a different team here. Jake's got Burnley. You've got Southampton. I've got Newcastle. I'll let you talk through Southampton then. What's the reasoning behind you putting them there?
I think Southampton are a really hard team to predict, because they're either brilliant pushing top half or in real trouble that look like they're going to lose every game. And there seems to be no in between. And I think the way they finished last season, I think quite often how you finish a season can impact how you start the next one. And they were dreadful. It's like, it seems that, like we say, the joke was getting battered 9-0 by Leicester turned them into a great side. Well, getting battered 9-0 by United's turned them into a dreadful side. And obviously now they've lost Danny Ings to Villa.
They have.
And it looks like Adam Armstrong is coming in as a replacement. Nothing official as of time of recording, but I feel like he's definitely a good signing. I think that's made me doubt it
in the Championship, that's for sure. It's whether he can bring it into the Premier League.
That almost made me switch to Newcastle, because they have gone and got a good striker to replace Ings. But then I remembered that I've done a prediction a couple of years ago when they signed Che Adams, and I went as far as to say he'd be the signing of the season with his goals, and he needed a year to adapt. And he's on similar sort of stats to Armstrong. So I wonder, is he going to need a year to adapt, or is he going to be getting the goals they need? And I think that he will probably need a year to get used to it. But I don't think he'll be able to get a chance to be used to the Premier League, because I think they'll be down, because I just don't see coming from, and potential Ward-Prowse going to Villa as well. But even with lack of creativity, and I'm not sure, and I'm not convinced the strikers will be able to do enough.
I would agree with you on that. I think defensively they also need to improve as well. I mean, you've got Yannick Vestergaard, who is still a good defender in his right, performed well at the Euros for Denmark.
Yeah,
but Bednarek, as we've seen last year, is riddled with mistakes for Southampton. They've also lost Ryan Bertrand, who they let go. It'll be a big miss. He's gone to Leicester. And obviously,
the goalkeeper situation as well.
Exactly, their goalkeeper situation. They've got two 30-year-old plus goalkeepers. I mean,
so below average as well, definitely in terms of Premier League keepers as well. It's not like they've got. So if you look at United, you've got De Gea and Henderson. If you're choosing between two, at least they're both solid enough options. So Southampton are choosing between both keepers, two keepers who realistically are, say, bottom 5 level.
Alex McCarthy and Fraser Forster.
I think they'll definitely be down there, but we'll see if I'm right about 18th. I think they are massively in trouble this year. I think if they stay up, it will be a case of other sides have had a mare rather than they've improved massively.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. In terms of me for Newcastle being in 18th, I think Newcastle have been a side that has always been down in those bottom places around that sort of last relegation spot mark. This season, I think, could be the end for Newcastle. If Steve Bruce can get his players fit, and his good players staying fit, such as the likes of Callum Wilson, St. Maximan, those sort of players, I feel like they could stay up. But there's strong rumours of them bringing back Joe Willock, which is a very good signing for them.
Yeah.
But they just need more, I think, defensively in particular.
So
and they just need more creativity.
Yeah, I can't argue anything there, because, like I say, Newcastle, the team I was debating with Southampton for exactly the same reasons. Like, again, a time of recording, potentially a deal agreed for Willock, but no official signings through the door.
Yeah.
And it literally, the Newcastle season is, like you said, simply relies on St. Maximan and Wilson's fitness, and they are both very injury prone. I think if there's a spell, they're unlikely to be able to both stay fit the entire season, which I think will be their downfall, because I don't see where the goals come from besides those two. Because as much as he's a good player, is Willock really going to go on another run where he's getting them 10 points in 5 games himself or whatever? Probably not.
I think his price tag's probably going to play him down a bit. 25 million is the reported price tag. I think that's going to linger over him and put too much pressure on him this time. Because last back end of last season, only alone, he was free to shine. This time around, he's got that potential club record transfer fee for Newcastle almost, which could be a burden to him.
So he had that point. He had a point to prove last time. He was there when he went on loan. He was there trying to show Mikel Arteta that he should be starting. And in the end, he's played so well that he's decided he prefers Newcastle. So he's obviously pushed for that move there himself, and it looks like that will happen now. It might even be done by the time this goes out for all we know. It seems to be quite close.
It is close.
I just don't think it's enough. But again, let's say it's another one because we're judging it 3 weeks before the end of the window, so they might do some brilliant late recruitment, and that'll keep them and push them up the table, keep them up comfortably for all we know.
We shall see on that one, because Southampton and Newcastle are two teams that could go in either direction. Really, we'll talk briefly about Jake's opinion of Burnley. I know he's put Burnley down there because he has an irrational hatred of the club.
Yeah,
and just thinks
United,
this seems
to be a common thing amongst United fans. Really, there seems to be nobody can really explain it. It's just United don't like Burnley.
Yeah, I think they're still sour from that 2009 win at Turf Moor, and the fact that we've beaten them at Old Trafford in the past. Always seem to take points off them at Old Trafford. But
so we'll see. We'll
work
it out.
We will work it out.
We'll give our thoughts on them, and then we can probably go from. Just imagine what we say and we talk about Burnley, but more harsh, and that'll be Jake's reasoning, as he's not here to do it himself.
So we'll now move on to 17th to 14th positions. So starting from 17th, we'll go with Jake to start with. He's gone Southampton in 17th, Brentford 16th, Newcastle 15th, and Brighton in 14th. In terms of my predictions, I've gone Burnley 17th, Brentford 16th, Crystal Palace 15th, Southampton 14th.
And I've gone Newcastle 17th, Burnley 16th, Brighton 15th, and then actually I've gone Brentford quite high up in a way, 14th. But I think we've covered Southampton and Newcastle a minute ago, so we'll skip over them. So it makes sense to move on to Burnley now. And again, signings are the key here because not much has been done so far. But if stuff happens in 3 weeks with Deitch, I think with me with Deitch in charge, I just don't. Burnley spoke that whenever they're in position they're in, I just don't ever see Burnley going down. Like the start of last, I said to you 3 weeks into the season last year, or whatever, when Burnley were blasted with no points, I just never see Burnley going down. You could be bottom on 0 points at Christmas, and I'd still back Sean Dyche to keep you up.
Yeah, I think
it's just something I never see. So I'm never gonna put them in the bottom 3. But say if signings aren't made and other clubs around improve, I think the last 3 weeks of the window will be key at the bottom. It's literally going to be who recruits the best out of the likes of Southampton, Newcastle, Burnley. So Brentford, if you're in that category as well, it's going to come down to who does the best recruitment in the next 3 weeks and in January. That'll be the key to keeping them up.
As a Burnley fan, I won't lie and say I'm worried because I am. Because at the moment, Wayne Hennessy and Nathan Collins are just not going to cut the mustard for it this season. I mean, there's no question Nathan Collins is a good signing for the future. Yeah. I think the aim for that is a long-term Tarkowski replacement, who will probably end up going out on a free next year. But we need wingers. That's the problem. Yeah. We need pace in the wide areas. We need a bit of creativity, which is what we've only got 2 senior wingers at the moment. McNeil and Goodmanson. That's it. We need 2 more.
McNeil's a target for many teams above as well.
Everton and Villa have been heavily linked with McNeil this season.
You can't rule out him still being there by the end of the window as well.
Yeah. We've been linked with that Maxwell Cornet from Lyon. We've been linked with some Brazilian. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, we've gone full Real Madrid and just signed a young Brazilian who's skillful from the Brazilian league. Full Real Madrid.
But I don't know. Dyche works miracles every season with the budget he gets and the squad we've got. But this season, I think, could be a struggle.
Yeah.
But I'm still optimistic, and it's the Burnley sort of way to just grind out those results like we did at Liverpool last year.
Yeah.
It's just those sort of results that will keep us in the league.
Yeah, it's like I said, I can never see it. Like Burnley would have to literally be like bottom. They could be bottom 3 with 2 weeks left. They need to they could be 6 points off with 2 weeks left, have to win both and stuff go their way. And I just think because it's Burnley, because of Sean Dyche, I just see it happening. I'd never predict Burnley in the bottom 3 because I just find it's just something so difficult for me to see.
He doesn't get the justice he deserves, Dyche, but far from it. I think he is probably, there's no bias in this, but I'd genuinely say he's probably up there within the top 5 managers in the league.
Job he does with little budget, he doesn't get enough credit.
Absolutely not. But enough about Burnley now.
Keeping that Burnley squad in the league every year with no money should be automatic manager of the year contender, but he never is.
No. But we'll move on to Brentford now. What are the final promoted sides to talk about? And it's about time Brentford got their shot in the Premier League. They've fallen short the last 3 seasons. And this time, I think Thomas Frank will probably keep them in the Premier League.
I think Brentford will actually be better than a lot of people think. That's why I've got them as high as 14th. I think not quite the level of Sheffield United and then Leeds. Obviously nobody thought of Sheffield United, but everybody was saying last year that Leeds aren't going to be an issue because the type of football they play is not expected in the Premier League. So they'll catch teams out and they'll have a good season. I think the similar thing with Brentford, but just I don't know if the defence is the issue with me.
They've brought in Christophe Ayer from Celtic, which is an excellent signing.
Very good signing. Yeah,
but I think there's too much pressure.
Their attacking football is very good. They're a great team to watch, and I think that they do play a bit differently. I think it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be it's a case of it's predictions. We don't know how the season is going to start, but I think it's going to be a case of either they're going to be sussed out completely from the start and have a terrible season and go down, or they're going to be that team that can go and get the odd point. Like they can be in trouble and they can go and nab 3 points away at Man United out of nowhere, or come to Anfield and get a point, go to Stamford Bridge and get a point just because they'll catch teams out. I feel like that will be enough. I think that will be relatively comfortable. I'll put in like the kind of Brighton bracket as I say, that like looking over the shoulder, but never in any real danger themselves.
I would agree with that, but I do feel in terms of Brentford, I think there could be far too much pressure on Ivan Toney this season. The hype he's had going into the season, is he going to live up to the expectations that everyone expects of him? Hopefully.
He's undoubtedly a Premier League striker, though.
He is. But it's whether he can bring his championship form into the Premier League. But we will see. But I don't see any issues for Brentford. It depends on the start, really, like you said. They start badly, they could be in trouble. But
it's going to be a case. I don't see any because of the way they play. It's either going to be one of those who, like Leeds, but not quite as the same level. Obviously, Leeds with a great finish last year, but not to that. They'll catch teams out consistently. Like people won't know what to do, or they're just going to be sussed out completely, and they're going to really struggle and potentially be right down in 20th, let alone going down.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the next club. We'll move on to Palace next, I think. And Palace is an interesting one because new manager at the helm in Patrick Vieira, completely overhaul of the squad, pretty much, with a lot of elderly players being axed by the chairman and Patrick Vieira wanting to build his new squad. And to be fair to him, so far they've brought in some excellent talent. Michael Elise from Reading is probably one of the next big things. Yeah. Mark Guehi from Chelsea and Joachim Andersen have impressed at Fulham last season. 3 excellent signings, but Palace need a striker and possibly another winger because Eze is going to be out for quite a while still with his injury. Zaha, his head's probably in the right place now because he's not going to get that move to a bigger club now. Yeah, but they need a striker.
The other thing Vieira's done very well is getting. We were talking to the end, so I can't remember if it was on the podcast or just a chat we were having ourselves, but we were saying that Palace squad is aging and they're in real trouble this season because of that. But what they've done is they've shifted on some of the older players. So Gary Cahill's left, not given a new contract. Andros Townsend somehow managed to get a move to Everton after his performances. And then say number one, Patrick Van Aanholt's been moved on, which then say now Tyreek Mitchell will be first choice. So they bring it to both centre halves they've signed are quite young that they are
average
bringing
age is
the
coming
age of
down
the
as that
squad
squad.
down as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so they need a striker definitely, because Benteke was brilliant at the end of last season, but is that mean he's back, or was it just a purple patch? Zaha is going to be the main look again. So Eze would have been as well. He's out. Elise will need time to adapt, whether that's a full season, like I was saying, that might be needed for Armstrong, or whether it will be a few months. We'll have to see. But I think they'll do well. But my only issue is Vieira. I don't know enough about him. I feel like he's not been the best. He went into short.
He couldn't get Nice in the
Nice.
top half of the French league. So is that an omen?
So I'm not convinced about him, but then potentially I think in terms of their season, I think they'll do well, but I don't know if Vieira will be the manager at the end of the season. I can see Vieira having a poor start.
I think it could be similar to Frank de Boer at Palace, possibly, but possibly give him longer.
Sacked, and then somebody else comes in and saves the season. I've actually I won't say where I've put them because they're not in this bracket for me, but I do say I think I've put them too high. But I was saying to you before we started recording, my table is basically in my head. My table, you get to 9th, and they might as well jump straight to 13th and then go from there and finish on like 24. Because there's that big of a jump in class for me. So I'll put them quite high, but like in my head it's lower. But I'll explain it when we get to it. But
watch this space, because I reckon, like you said, I don't think Vieira will be manager throughout the whole season. I do feel they'll get rid of Vieira, and I do think they will replace him with Eddie Howe at some point in the season.
So I've kind of played with Palace, so I've gone with the assumption of that they will get a striker, and that I think somebody else will come in around November and turn the season around. That's why I've placed them high, because I think that will be the case, because I'm not convinced about Patrick Vieira.
I'd agree with that.
I'd agree with that. What else we got then?
Let's move on to 13th to 10th, finishing the bottom half. So we'll start with Jake, because he's gone Wolves in 13th, Palace 12th, Everton 11th, and West Ham in 10th. In terms of my predictions, it's Brighton in 13th, West Ham in 12th, Wolves 11th, and Everton in 10th.
All right, mine's a bit all over the place, and I've got my reasoning behind this. I'm going to start with West Ham in 13th, then Wolves in 12th, Palace in 11th, and Everton in 10th. But then, like I say, in my head, the reason why I've got it as I do is because I've decided my top 9, and I was like, everybody else, I couldn't see top half. I put Palace, Wolves, West Ham, Everton in the same bracket. All 4 teams have just said all in the same bracket of I'd go somewhere between 13th and lower, but then obviously I've got to put one of them 10th, 11th, 12th, and I've settled on West Ham 13th. I'll start with them because that's the one that needs the most explaining, because you'd expect them to be pushing top half. I just don't think they've got enough squad depth to handle Thursday, Sunday. And so Thursday, you saw what it did to Burnley, and that was just the qualification stage. And I think West Ham, they've not done much recruitment. I think their squad's good enough, but I just don't think they've got enough depth to cover Thursday, Sunday.
It's happened to Burnley, it's happened to Wolves.
Exactly. So you look at Mikel Antonio, he's not fit enough to do Thursday, Sunday. But then who are you going to play up front in the other games? You haven't gone and signed anybody else. I think their league form will hit a negative because of that. And then I think they're I think they'll probably go out in the group stage of the Europa League as well and just have an all-round poor year. And randomly, it's like a bit of a joke around West Ham as well. He's talking about fans coming back. West Ham to be one of the teams who benefited from empty stadiums. So especially if they do start to drop points because they're so knackered of Thursday, Sunday every week and not many changes, no other fans are going to get on their backs and put the pressure on. And I just think they've kind of had the nice season. I think this will be Rice's last season at West Ham as well, because I think
will the fans turn on the West Ham players and on the board, because there is takeover talks.
So I just can't see them balancing Europa League and Premier League. Like say the November-December period, can they balance Thursday, Sunday every week? I don't think they will. So they're down in 13th.
I would 100% agree with you on that, and that's why I've got them in 12th. So let's touch on Brighton, because that's a team we haven't touched on much. Yeah, let's talk about them quickly.
So they were in my 15th. I put them down a bit lower than you, same sort of area with Jake.
Yeah, Jake's got them in 14th, so it averages it out really. 13th, 14th, 15th. Yeah. So we've averaged 14th realistically, but let's talk about Brighton.
That's just Brighton, isn't it? That's basically exactly why I said for Brentford. I have Brighton in their own category of. That's what I call this group of people that not in trouble of going down, but should look over their shoulder. I literally call them the Brighton sides.
Yeah,
this is the same thing every year. They're always in and around this area, but never look. They're always like, oh, if these teams get a couple of wins, they're on a bad run of form. They might be dropped down there, but they never are.
Brighton need a striker. I think that's a
100%.
That's a must for Brighton, because if they can get a decent striker in, because Neil Maupay's not really cut it in the Premier League as of yet.
Danny Welbeck had a good end of the season, but is he good enough to? Or is he fit enough and good enough to last the season?
Well, if Brighton can get a top striker in, they're pushing the top 10 realistically.
Yeah.
Yes, they've lost Ben White to Arsenal, but they can invest that cash elsewhere.
Mm.
And they've got a young squad as well, really young squad. And the fact they've managed to hold of Bissouma as well, that's going to be a big positive for Brighton.
Yeah. So the losing Ben White is, it's going to become an issue to them, but the fact they managed to get 50 million for him because of English tax, like they've got money to spend. You can go and get a very capable centre half for less than half of that, and then you can go and smash out on a big striker, somebody like Odsonne Edouard, something like that. That you can go and get.
Has also been heavily linked with Brighton.
So you've got enough money to go out and get someone very good up front who can score you 10, 15 goals a season and still get a perfectly good centre half.
Exactly.
They've got enough money to go and
they're very well run White as well.
So, even if nothing else, you can just take Dan Burn off the wing, go and sign a left back, if not, and put Dan Burn back in the middle. Stop playing a 6'7" guy up and down the left.
I think the return of Tariq Lamptey is going to be key for Brighton as well.
Massively, yeah.
Absolutely. But let's move on to Wolves now. Won't probably touch too much on Wolves.
No, there's not really much to say with Wolves.
No, not really. It's a transition period, really, for Bruno Lage in his first season. I think the return of Raul Jimenez is huge for Wolves. Absolutely huge. And I think the signing of Trincao, well known from Barcelona, is going to be interesting, I think. I don't know if he's going to be able to cut it in the Prem or not.
I don't know. I think he'll do quite well, to be fair. He was somebody I was considering for FPL until I saw Wolves' first 3 fixtures, and he was swiftly taken back out. Yeah. It's not exactly the easiest welcome to the league for Bruno Lage. No. His 3 games, but I'd say transition theory. I think Wolves are quite a difficult one because, they have been a team that we know can push for those top positions. Obviously, they've got very good attack. Jimenez back, Pedro Neto, if he can stay fit all year. So I think Trincao will do well, but
they were poor at the end of last season. Yeah, very poor.
They were hurt badly by Jimenez, but it's kind of like they were the opposite to Liverpool. Like they had injuries up front, but then that's not an excuse for the defensive performances. Same as Liverpool had injuries at the back, but it wasn't an excuse for the goal scoring. I think Wolves perfectly summed up. I saw a tweet that literally sums Wolves up perfectly the other day. Relegation defence, mid-table midfield, top half attack.
Yeah, agreed. I think the thing is with Wolves, they were dreadful at the back end of last season. I think epitomised by their 4-0 loss to Burnley at home. I mean, they were absolutely hopeless that day.
Yeah. So generally, I think the defence will be their issue. I think the midfield and attack is good enough for them to be in that contention for, say, 10th, maybe pushing on to 9th if they have a good year. But the defence is dreadful. I mean, Connor Cody's good, but if they're going to play back 4, which they might be moving to, that doesn't suit him at all.
No.
Semedo is very good. So that's
He's good. So that's a good sign he's getting on a permanent.
It's just the centre-backs. Roman Saiz isn't good enough. Willy Bolly's too injury-prone, but very good when he plays. Max Kilman is very good, but doesn't seem to get games for whatever reason.
And they're getting rid of Owen Otasowie possibly to Bruges in a more attacking.
Say Rui Patricio's gone now.
That's a leader they've lost.
And so Jose Sarr is unproven, so we can't really judge because it's quite a big jump from the.
He's played
Greek
Champions League football, but he's not played Premier League football.
And so it's a big jump from the Greek league into the Premier League. But I have to say, from when the odd time I've watched him play with Olympiacos in the Champions League or Europa League, he does seem quite good. To be fair,
he does.
Can do a job, and he's Portuguese, so no language barrier or anything because the whole squad
fits the mould at Wolves. Fits the mould at Wolves perfectly. Same with Trincao, but. We shall see with Wolves. It's going to be an interesting season for them in
the I expect them to be down there in the early stages because they have such a tough start.
Yeah. Which
then might, because it depends what happens to them. If they keep their heads up through that spell, then when they get onto the easier fixtures, they'll climb the table. If they let that get them down, if they're down there on a couple of points after the first 6 games because of the start they have, then they might stay down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overall, just
So
solid mid-table. Really, I think that's what we've all got on there.
let's touch on Everton now.
Mm.
So Everton, I've got exactly mid-table, 10th place.
Yeah, I think I have the same. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
In terms of recruitment for Everton this season, it's been pretty shoddy. Let's just put it that way. Andros Townsend and Damari Gray so far.
So with Everton, just like something doesn't seem right now. So Ancelotti's going. I don't know what it is. So obviously Rafa Benitez has come in, who's a perfectly capable manager, but so the links to Liverpool have obviously put Everton fans off. So some of them say the recent friendly, they got battered 4-0 by Man United, and were lucky it was only 4.
Poor.
They were dreadful that game. Their own fans were chanting against Benitez. Obviously, they've gone as far as putting banners up at the stadium when he was being announced. Like, something's not right, and I just don't. Rafa's got to do something to win the fans over, but I don't think he will. I think I'll be surprised if he's in the job at the end of the season. I think it's almost.
I'd agree with that.
I can't see a scenario where Duncan Ferguson doesn't come in as either interim or full time at some point in the season. I think they're they're a ticking time bomb. I think there's something's not right. The recruitment's not been there.
I think the thing is with Everton,
gone.
I think the thing is with Everton, they need a big name signing this window.
Yeah.
To just lift the morale of the club in a position where they need it. They need a midfielder, I think, really.
Yeah.
A more attacking midfielder, because there's reports James Rodriguez is going to leave, and I wouldn't bet against that at all, because the only reason he really came to Everton was Ancelotti.
So he's come out the other day and said that, didn't he? So obviously the whole Messi situation. Now he's going to PSG. Sergio Aguero has been, as somebody's been saying, a lot of people have been saying, is he going to want to stay now because he only signed for Messi? So then James has come out and said, I feel that he feels for him because the only reason he came to Everton was Ancelotti, and then he's now gone. So the question is going to be, is anyone actually? Nobody seems to be that interested in buying for the price that Everton want. So I can't really describe it in more detail. There's something you can just tell something's not right there.
No, I'd agree with that.
I don't think Rafa will last the season at all, and I think to be honest, the only reason they're 10th is because I look at the other teams I've got in that bracket. Like I said, and I see such a big jump. Like on quality, they're above the likes of Wolves and Palace with their squad. But I just think it's all going to go horribly wrong, and they're going to end up. So at Christmas, they're going to be 14th, 15th, I think. And then it's going to be about can someone else come in and save them? I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I'll quickly jump back on Palace before we move on again.
Yeah,
the reason I've got them so high is, again, it's also just I've got them 11. Again, it's a case of I've had to then because I see such a jump. Like in my head, that's like a 14th, even though it's down as 11. But I think again, the fact that West Ham are going to struggle and probably have a lot of injuries. It's literally kind of a case I've gone through the other teams and just gone, are they above them? Yes, yeah. And eventually I've settled on 11th somehow.
Fair enough. Well, from looking at our predictions so far, we have got the same top 10, well, top 9, pretty much.
Yeah, I think we're all going to be very similar. I don't think there'll be many positions switched around in the top 9.
No, I think, 9th to 5th. So I've got, in terms of it's Villa 9th, Leeds 8th, Arsenal 7th, Spurs in 6th, Leicester in 5th.
I've gone almost exactly the same. The only difference is I've switched Arsenal and Spurs around.
It's interesting. Jake's got the same as me, except Villa and Leeds are the other way around. But I want to focus in on Leeds to start with. And I feel like Leeds could be a surprise team this year. I feel they could be a team that breaks into those Europa League places.
Exactly my thinking as well. I think they're in for a brilliant season, Leeds.
Jack Harrison signing on a permanent. Excellent. Junior Firpo from Barca. Spot on. Can't really fault them.
Looks like there could be some more to come as well later in the window. Obviously, Rafinha and Bamford, we know how good they are. Stuart Dallas can play about 14 different positions.
Yeah.
Does the job.
Melié's still young and golden, has now adapted to the Premier League.
So good defence as well. If the likes of Llorente and that can stay fit this year.
Yeah.
So the midfield as well, hard working as ever.
Calvin Phillips has proved it in the Euros, starting every game for England.
Phillips can stay fit. Like he's like a quarterback, as they say. The way he plays, for what he does, he's crucial to Leeds if he can stay fit. I said we've got, as you say, we've got coming up later as a surprise team, and Leeds were one of the ones I considered because Leeds was really one of my surprise teams. I could see them jumping up to the level where West Ham were. Maybe not quite top 4 because the top 5 looks so clear this year.
Yeah.
But I can really see them being right up there. It would not surprise me at all if we reflect on this in May and they're in 6th or maybe higher.
Yeah, agreed. And the same could realistically be said for Villa, but I feel like Jack Grealish is a big loss for them.
The only say with Villa, what holds me down is I think there's going to be a transition period at the start of the year where they might drop a few points. Because the signings they've made to me makes me think a system change is coming in because they've been doing a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3.
Yeah.
That's what I think they're going to be moving to a 4-4-2 now with Bailey and Buendia on one side each, Ings and Watkins up front. But they're a contender for best transfer window.
Oh, absolutely. Buendia, Leon Bailey, Danny Ings, all proven.
Incredible window, and potentially saying like some Ward-Prowse or even Twanzebe coming in.
That's a good sign as well.
Mings has got a mistake in him. He can cover full, so he can play instead of Mings. He can cover fullback as well. They are very good. I just think that transition period, say playing a different way, adapting to a 2-striker formation, losing Grealish as well. So giving the signings some time to. That's the only thing when you make a lot of signings, they do need time to gel together sometimes. I think they might be in for a slightly dodgy first month or so, and then I think they'll turn it around. But I think that month will be what costs them from having a consistent Europa League push.
I think in terms of Villa's squad, there's no questioning. It's up there with Leicester's realistically, but it's like you said, it's the adaptation to the change of system, and I don't think Dean Smith's quite proved himself yet in the Premier League. But we'll see. Villa's another one.
Ninth seems incredibly harsh, but like I say, for me, there's going to be this year there'll be at least 10 points between 9th and 10th. I think because there seems to be that much of a. They might as well say the top half effectively ends at 9th, and there's like a big classrooms, and the bottom half might as well start at like 12th and then work our way down from there.
Absolutely. So let's move on to Leicester, Tottenham, and Arsenal now. Mm-hmm. So Arsenal have invested not bad so far. Ben White's a good signing that they did need, but they need more.
The key for me with putting Arsenal above Spurs, which is obviously the big difference in mine compared to both of yours, is I think the lack of European football. They've got nothing else to focus. I think they're going to push in the league, not enough to go for Champions League because their squad just isn't as good as the likes of Leicester and those above. But I think they'll, out of the Europa League and Conference League places, they'll be the ones that are pushing the highest out of that little group. So I've kind of put Arsenal, Spurs, Villa, Leeds in the same group this year, and I think Arsenal will do the best because they've got the least distractions, I think. So it's either going to be that or they're going to go right the way, say, they love the FA Cup. I think they could go as far as at least one cup final because they haven't got that, say, the Thursday, Sunday that they've had.
I'd agree with that. And also the fact with Spurs, is Harry Kane's head going to be there? That's what I'd argue. They've invested not bad. I think Christian Romero from Atalanta is a good signing at centre-back. They've got Galini in as a potential Lloris replacement further down the line, although it's only a loan at the moment. And if they can keep hold of Kane and Nuno can get Kane's head in the right place, we'll see. Because Kane and Son is essential for that Tottenham side.
Yeah. I think the issues with me, why I've gone Arsenal above Spurs, is the first one being they have no Europe, so they can focus more on the Premier League. The second is Tottenham's defence, because they've seen that was the issue last year. We knew they scored a lot of goals. So Harry Kane became top scorer and top assister. Like they score a lot of goals. But the reason they're dropping points was their leaky defence. And then Romero's a good signing, but then you've also lost Alderweireld, who was one of the better ones. I don't think that I don't really feel like they've made enough effort to improve the defence, and that was clearly the problem. And then obviously,
I'd agree with that.
I've gone on the assumption that Kane will stay, but if he does go, then I could see them dropping below Leeds and Villa.
I'd agree with that.
I also think just a bonus prediction that made me look more embarrassing if it comes to May and it doesn't happen. I think this is finally going to be Pepe's year. Finished last season very strong. I think he's going to be pushing not quite double figures, but I think he'll be on 7-8 goals this year, a few assists. I think this is his time. He's had years to adapt. He looked very good at the end of last year. I think this is finally his year where he finally starts to justify at least half of his, maybe not 72 million because you want double figures for that, but at least he'll definitely. I think this is finally the year that he breaks through and stops with the stupid mistakes and starts to cement himself at the starting spot.
I agree with that. So let's touch on Leicester briefly. First thing, Boubakary Samari, excellent signing. Patson Daka from Salzburg, excellent signing. Wesley Fofana though,
Yeah, that
big
is
loss.
a big issue. I think Leicester's a difficult one because I feel like they should be, let's say, with their recruitment, they should be right in the race again. But everyone else has done so United, Chelsea, City have all recruited massively well. Liverpool haven't done as much, but then they've got all the players back from injury, which was their issue last year. I think if Leicester can bottle it 2 years in a row, and when people weren't as strong, and then they've all gone and improved their squads, I just can't see how they can break in this year despite their recruitment.
No, I'd agree with that. They're definitely going to need a defender of some sort.
Yeah,
with Fofana out until the start of 2022.
Yeah, that's a huge loss. I think he's brilliant. Well, there's no other way of describing it really. One of the best defenders in the league. And so Johnny Evans is still a perfectly good defender. It's not like he's not bad, but he's got fitness issues and he's getting older.
So I think a signing is needed. Issues as well. Tarkowski's always been a long-term Leicester target.
So Wilfred Ndidi is an outstanding player, one of the most underrated in the league for me. But you don't want to have to be playing him centre back all year. So it's like Liverpool last season. You could see the difference. The reason their form picked up is when Fabinho came out of defence and into midfield. And there'd be a similar thing with Leicester. If he's needed to play centre back all year, you'd see if you put him out and put him in the midfield, then they'll be a lot better. So I think a centre half is needed, or they might potentially start to slip and lose positions. I still think they'll still comfortably be Europa League, but they might start to. Let's say it might not be as their top four race as much as they should be if they don't go and sign a centre half.
Yeah, a lot of games again for Leicester with their involvement in the Europa League this year.
They already won the Community Shield as well, even if it is a glorified friendly. They've still played very well.
Yep, they did.
Looked impressive.
But let's finally move on to the top four, and we've all got the same teams in the top four. Me and Jake have got the exact same order. Liverpool in fourth, Man United third, Chelsea second, City winning the league again.
I've gone same thing with switch Liverpool and United, which I think you'd have to expect realistically from me.
Yes.
Yeah, but and I think as well, so the question, my issue with United is that if you look at that squad, we should be talking about that as a clear title contender and the same level as Chelsea and City with that squad. But you've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge.
Yes, that's the damn.
He's getting better. So he's getting better, and they made the right decision to give him time, undoubtedly. But he's not that squad. You give that squad to any of the other top managers. So you give that to say Pep, Klopp, Tuchel, any of them, that squad, you're saying that's one of the clear favourites. Even looking abroad, you look at even somebody like Pochettino, you still be saying he should be winning the title. The fact they're not in that same conversation as Liverpool, Chelsea, and City. And the fact that people are still putting Liverpool ahead of them with minimal business, I think they need either Solskjaer needs another couple of years to improve, and then that's wasting time, or you need another manager to come in. I just don't see. So even somebody like Zidane, you give them that squad, that's automatically up the top. And I think the fact that they're not in that conversation is a problem because they should be with that squad.
Yep, I'd agree. But I think Varane is a big signing for Man United and position they certainly needed to strengthen in. Because Varane and Maguire is a very good centre-back partnership for next year, alongside Shaw and Wan-Bissaka on either side.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
In terms of Liverpool, they need a midfielder as well. That is the key thing. Because Pogba looks like he is going next year.
Yeah.
And then obviously at the moment you can say you don't want to play McTominay and Fred, definitely. But say one of them and Pogba is not the end of the world, but it's still not good enough.
No, I'd agree with that.
If you want to compete, it's good enough for top four, but it's not good enough for the title. So if they can get a midfielder in by the end of the window, then I might be inclined to switch around despite my bias. I'd say touch on Liverpool, but we need to really focus on City and Chelsea. Yeah, I mean, realistically, City Liverpool's a case of injuries again because not enough business has been done. If we get injuries, we're in trouble, potentially dropping out of the top four again. If we can stay fit, we'll be up there fighting as long as possible. Yep,
simple summary there. I think Man City will walk the league again this year.
I don't think they'll walk it. I think it will be close. I think there'll be quite a significant jump between City and Chelsea and Liverpool and United. I think there'll be at least, say, 8 points, that sort of gap between those two.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea will give them a good battle, but I think City will have that bit extra in the end. to get them over the line.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what City have signed Grealish, obviously, but they've got so many wide players now. City.
Yeah.
Is he going to be first choice or not? But we know Pep likes to rotate his squad.
No one's certain. Pep doesn't have his best 11. He just picks it. No. He just picks his. He's got a good enough squad that he can pick an 11 for a game. He doesn't have to have his default 11 because he's got enough. No, all his wingers bring something different as well. So he can look at every opponent and go, oh, we need somebody a bit more technical. Right, I'm going to play Mahrez and Grealish. Or, we need pure pace. So, right, Sterling, Ferran Torres, or anyone like that. He can literally pick it. His squad's that good. He can pick a side that perfectly suits the game.
Yep.
Which is the problem for Grealish. I think that's the only issue with him. Obviously, it's a step forward for him, and I understand exactly why he's gone, but I think he isn't going to get as much game time because Pep rotates every week, which to every FPL manager's nightmares.
Absolutely. So
De Bruyne has got a bit of a knock as well, so potentially some difficult games to start the season as well. De Bruyne may not be fit. Bernardo Silva wants to leave apparently as well, so that's one of your better ones. But realistically, Chelsea, I think they're still that step behind.
Still short, but the signing of Lukaku is really going to help.
Yeah, massively. That's the goal scorer they needed last year.
Yep, 100%. So let's move on to some of the other awards.
The other thing with Chelsea as well is if they can get Koundé through the door before the end of the window as well, that'll massively improve the defence. But they're just still that step behind City, and even though they beat them in the Champions League without signings.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on to some of these other awards then that we've come up with. So top goal scorer. We'll not gloss over too much on these. We'll just say who they are and move on. So Jake's got his top scorer as Chelsea's new signing, Romelu Lukaku. I've gone for Mohamed Salah, and you have gone for
Romelu Lukaku as well.
Lukaku.
I kind of just ran down. I was trying to run down my table. It was like nobody's going to get it at City. Realistically, they spread the goals around everywhere, and they rotate all the time. And see the difference with Lukaku compared to some of Chelsea's other ones, the likes of Werner and Morata, is that he's proven in the league.
Yep.
Is that everywhere he's gone, he's had success. I mean, people try and say he was a flop at United, but he wasn't. He wasn't. He was still very good at United. He just wasn't. It's just other area. He could still score a lot of goals. It was just other areas of his game took a bit of a dip.
Yep.
But he's still a good scorer.
Talking of Man United, top assister, I've gone Bruno. Jake's also gone Bruno.
Yeah, I've have to as well. They've got that good of an attack. He's going to rack assists up easily, I think.
Yep. Golden Glove, I've gone Edison. Jake's gone Edison.
I've gone Edouard Mendy.
Okay, interesting.
I think Chelsea's defence, if they can get, like I say, if they can get Koundé in, I think it will be very strong.
Yeah.
And I just feel like City's defence, quite a few of them have a mistake in them. So I think it'll come down to like 1 or 2 games, and there'll be like a couple of games where City will give it a stupid goal away and win 3-1, and that'll be why Mendy will just get it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Okay, surprise team.
Surprise team. So surprise and flop, I've contradicted my predictions. I'm like trying to cover more bases so I don't look as stupid when we come back in May and realise we're miles off.
Yeah, so my surprise team I've gone for is Leeds because of the reckoning that I think they can get into the Europa League.
Yeah, that's one I was considering, but so realistically, with my table, I should have said Palace because I put them 11th, and most people would say they're around 14th, 15th. But like I said, I've contradicted my actual table and gone Brighton because I've planned this on the basis of they're going to get a good striker in with the Ben White money. So I said that Brighton, my surprise will be Brighton because I could see them like 10th, 11th if they get a striker.
Brighton was another one I was considering. I had written it down, but I chose Leeds as my actual
one.
So
I've had to go on the assumption of a good striker coming in. If they don't sign one, I'm going to look stupid when I come back and say that.
And Jake, as you mentioned Palace, Jake has said Crystal Palace. Okay, flop team. This could be an interesting one. I've got 3 teams written down, but the one I actually think is probably going to be Everton for me.
Yeah, that's who I've gone with as well, because for the reasons I said earlier, something's not right. I don't think he will, but I think if Rafa stays all season, they'll be down in the 13th, 14th area, and that's anything except top half is like 11th. I'd even say as a flop, really. They should be getting top half of that squad.
If Kane leaves Tottenham will be my flop team, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think he will go. And Jake has chosen Southampton as his flop team. Reason being, new breed of manager, yet will struggle.
Yeah,
That's what he wrote.
I think with Everton, like so, we might be completely wrong. Like I say, so it's impossible to predict the Premier League, really. Although people give it a go every year. I mean, I look back at some of my old predictions I used to do for my radio show back in the day. And the year Bournemouth went down, I put them 10th. So you can never predict.
Yeah. Okay.
Sheffield United bottom the year they came 8th as well. So you never know what's going on.
4 more categories to go. Player of the year. I think we've all got the same player here.
Yeah. I found this difficult, to be fair. I was trying to think. Like, I was running through every team based on where I put them to finish, and I was actually really struggling.
I was struggling, but judging by the fact I did have Mason Mount written down to start with. But I've gone for De Bruyne, judged on the fact that he is City's best player, and he's just...
Yeah, same.
Even if he has a bad game, he's still considered a superstar in the Premier League.
So my logic was the fact that he got it this year, when, from a fan point of view, the likes of Diaz, even like Bruno, Kane should have been above. But
yes.
Obviously, Player of the Year is voted for by the players, the PFA. And I think every player you watch who does an interview, like I saw Ben Foster on his YouTube channel before it was all, and that said De Bruyne. I thought, where have we got De Bruyne from? There's so many betters. But the players seem to see De Bruyne in a different light last season. And if he can get it last year, then that was lower than his average, I'd say. So he can definitely get it this year.
Yeah. Jake has also gone for De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Young player of the year.
I've gone a bit outside the box with this one, if I'm being honest.
I've also gone outside the box. Jake's got for Jadon Sancho because he's biased.
Yeah, it's one I considered. I forgot that I originally forgot they had to be 23 or younger. I was going really young, and I realised and corrected myself.
I've gone for Bukayo Saka. I think he's going to be fired up this year after what's happened to him in the Euros. I think he's going to be absolutely fired up and on the top of his game for Arsenal.
He was actually one of the ones I was originally considering before I remembered I could go up to 23. All my options were a bit outside the box. I didn't go obvious here. Right up until the last minute, mine was Kai Havertz, because I think this is going to be a year that he really becomes the player he was in the Bundesliga. I think if they sit him just behind Lukaku, I think that'll work very well. But I switched on assumption I've made, which may massively backfire. Obviously, we know City like the false 9 if they don't sign Harry Kane. And I think the player will fill that false 9 role and then move on to get Young Player of the Year is Ferran Torres.
Interesting one, that.
He finished the season very well, had a very good Euros, and obviously in the Euros he played in that false 9 slot. And I think City don't look like they're going to sign a number 9, and Jesus isn't quite there. So I think Torres will fill that false 9 slot, and I think he'll suit City's system very well there.
That's a good shout, actually, a really good shout. I'd back that, actually. Manager of the season. Jake's gone for Pep.
I struggled with this one. I went for Pep purely because I've got City to win the league. I was trying to look up the table.
That's the only reason I've gone for Pep. I would love it to be Bielsa. Because
I'd say that's what I was saying. I'd go Bielsa if Leeds get Europe. I'd go whoever comes in at Palace, because I think they'll take them from like 16th to pushing top half. But I don't know who that will be, obviously. And then other than that, I've just had to play. So I thought maybe Tuchel, but then would he get it over Pep if City win the league? Probably not. So just had to play it safe with that one.
Yeah. And then final category is signing of the season. Now, I've written down 2 here. One from one of the top 4 clubs, one from not one of the top 4 clubs. So I've wrote down Varane because I do feel like he's going to change Man United's defence for the better.
Yeah.
And I've also written down Leon Bailey from Villa.
I was trying to be interested in this and try and go outside the box. Like I had one, like as I mentioned earlier, one of the earlier ones I'd done, I put Che Adams down a couple of years ago because I try not to just pick the big money signings. But I was looking for every team and I was actually quite struggling. So then I realised that I put Lukaku top scorer and he's a signing. So I thought I've kind of got to say, I can't not say him signing of the season. I think he's going to come in and get top scorer. Yeah.
Jake has also gone for Romelu Lukaku.
Okay, probably the same reason as me because he's put him top scorer as well.
Yeah.
I was tempted, so that out of the outside the box ones to be more interesting, I was leaning towards Joachim Andersen because I think he'll be the leader in the new look Palace defence, and if they have a good year, that at the end I'm not confident on where Palace will finish, so I'll just play this safe. Yep,
I'd agree with you there. But anyway, that's our opinions of what we think is going to happen in the 2021-22 Premier League season. We shall see in May next year.
Yeah, well, I look forward to coming back. It's just because this is a great episode as well. It gives us content for May next year as well. If we're still going,
It
we
does.
just come back and go, look how stupid we were in August.
It does.
Good
Gives us
fun.
a follow-up episode, which helps.
Good thing we didn't follow up and do the Euros one. And I said Turkey in the semis, but
Yes.
we'll move on.
But you were
did
the
also
closest.
say England in the final.
You did say England in the final. You did have them going all the way. But
yeah,
the Euros was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Many predictions were wrong, but many
yeah,
were right.
I'm glad I did better. My predictions on this podcast are absolutely hopeless, but I actually won 20 quid in a prediction sweepstakes somewhere else. So apparently I didn't go similar with that because my normal ones were absolutely miles off.
Yeah, my mum was nowhere near. I think I had Netherlands going to the semis. So, anyhow,
it was hopeless.
Anyhow,
that's why. Luckily, we didn't do an episode, or we look back at that because that would have been embarrassing for me.
Yeah, if things work out well, we may carry on doing some episodes over the summer, but they'll be very scarcely separated. But when we get back to uni in September, bigger and better things will be coming. We'll be moving into a studio, perhaps.
Hopefully, yeah, we should be
hiring out a studio.
Can finally use the uni. Hopefully, we've been waiting a whole year to use the uni facilities, so finally, COVID procedures are going to let us in. So,
yep. Hopefully, getting some better audio. We'll keep with the video.
These dodgy headsets.
Yep. Keep with the audio. Keep with the video. Hopefully, things get better and we produce some decent content for once.
Yeah, I was going to say now we just got to sort the content out, haven't we?
Yeah, we've still got my dreadful list, which we'll need to adapt slightly.
Yeah, that was a waste of time. We sat down. We were already prepared for this podcast for once. We made a whole list of summer ideas, and then literally Ben and John have been working every single day. Me and Jake have been busy as well. That our schedules haven't aligned until the point where Ben's been in isolation and literally bored out of his mind.
Yeah,
and even then he could only get me, not the other two. So it's been very difficult. But September we'll be back.
Back to normal.
Back in the uni routine, studio as well. Now we just got to sort ourselves out.
Yep, and could also be podcast on tour as well, where there's perhaps going to the darts in October. But we shall see. But anyhow, thank you for sticking with it this episode.
Yeah.
It's one of our boring prediction episodes, but it's fun to do, and the content will get better going over the next coming months. So thank you for listening, and
we'll be back in September for the Handbag Man-Bag Podcast 2.0.
Season 2. Goodbye. Excellent. Goodbye. Take care and see you soon.
Bye.